Feeling lonely is something we all experience at some point. It's natural, but it doesn't have to define your life. Being alone doesn't mean you have to feel lonely. In fact, solitude can be one of the most powerful tools for personal growth and self-discovery. In this episode, we'll explore 10 practical strategies to help you shift from loneliness to fulfillment. You'll learn how to build a stronger connection with yourself, find joy in the simple things, and create a life where being alone feels empowering, not isolating. Let's get started. Lesson 1. Develop a strong relationship with yourself. Loneliness doesn't always come from the absence of people. It often arises from the absence of a connection with yourself. When you haven't developed a solid relationship with who you are, being alone can feel uncomfortable, like you're missing something. But when you learn to truly understand and value yourself, solitude becomes a powerful time for reflection, growth, and peace. Instead of seeking constant external validation, you begin to find fulfillment from within. Developing a strong relationship with yourself starts with self-awareness. This means getting to know your thoughts, emotions, and needs on a deeper level. Take time each day to pause and check in with yourself. You can do this through journaling, meditating, or simply reflecting on your experiences. Ask yourself questions like, "What did I learn today?" or "What do I need right now to feel balanced?" The goal is to understand yourself without judgment, as you would a close friend. Another important aspect of building self-awareness is learning to be comfortable with your own thoughts. For many people, being alone feels difficult because it forces them to confront uncomfortable emotions. But instead of running from those feelings, learn to sit with them. Over time, you'll realize that those moments of discomfort are temporary, and by facing them, you become mentally stronger. Treat yourself with kindness. Imagine if you spoke to yourself the way you speak to a friend, encouraging instead of critical, supportive instead of dismissive. When you approach yourself with compassion, you cultivate a sense of inner stability, which helps transform loneliness into solitude. As you develop a stronger relationship with yourself, being alone will no longer feel like a void to fill. It will become a time for personal growth, creativity, and recharging. Self-awareness doesn't eliminate loneliness entirely, but it changes your perspective. You stop seeing solitude as something to avoid and start seeing it as an opportunity to become more in tune with who you are. Lesson 2. Engage in activities that fulfill you. One of the biggest reasons people feel lonely when they're alone is because they don't have anything meaningful to focus on. Without engaging in activities that truly fulfill you, your mind tends to drift toward negative thoughts, which can amplify feelings of isolation. The key to reducing loneliness isn't just about distracting yourself. It's about finding joy in what you do, regardless of whether you're doing it alone or with others. Think about it. When you're completely absorbed in an activity you enjoy, time seems to fly by. You're fully present, focused, and engaged. And during those moments, loneliness fades into the background. That's because fulfillment comes from within, not from external circumstances or company. When you do something that genuinely brings you joy, you feel connected to yourself and your purpose. Start by identifying the activities that make you feel energized and happy. This could be anything: painting, cooking, reading, writing, playing an instrument, gardening, or even solving puzzles. The activity itself doesn't matter as much as the feeling it brings. The goal is to find something that makes you lose track of time and puts you in a state of flow, a mental state where you're fully immersed in what you're doing and everything else seems to fade away. Another important aspect of engaging in fulfilling activities is that it boosts your sense of self-worth. When you dedicate time to something you care about, you're telling yourself, "I'm worth investing in." This reinforces your self-respect and helps reduce feelings of emptiness. You're no longer sitting around waiting for someone else to fill the void. You're actively creating a life that feels meaningful. It's also worth noting that engaging in activities you love helps improve your mental well-being. When you do something enjoyable, your brain releases dopamine, a neurotransmitter associated with pleasure and reward. This not only lifts your mood, but also helps you build a more positive outlook on life. Over time, regularly engaging in fulfilling activities can rewire your brain to seek joy from within, making you less reliant on external validation or constant social interaction. Here's a tip. Try scheduling fulfillment time into your week. Set aside at least 30 minutes a day to engage in something that genuinely brings you joy. No distractions, no multitasking. Treat this time as sacred, just as you would a meeting or an appointment. The more you prioritize these moments, the more fulfilled you'll feel, even during periods when you're alone. Ask yourself, what activities make me feel alive and connected to myself? If you're not sure, experiment with different things. You might discover a new hobby or revisit something you used to love but stopped doing over time. The point is to keep exploring until you find what truly fulfills you. In the end, loneliness isn't just about being alone. It's about feeling disconnected from meaning and purpose. By engaging in activities that bring you joy and fulfillment, you bridge that gap and create a life where being alone feels less like isolation and more like an opportunity to do what you love. Lesson 3. Stay connected to your purpose. Loneliness often feels like a void, a sense that something is missing. While human connection is an important part of life, there's another crucial element that many overlook, a sense of purpose. When you're deeply connected to a purpose, it fills that emotional void and gives your life meaning, even in moments when you're physically alone. Purpose provides direction, helping you feel grounded and motivated, no matter the circumstances. Purpose doesn't have to be something grand or world-changing. It simply means having something meaningful to work toward. It could be advancing in your career, nurturing a creative passion, contributing to your community, or even focusing on personal growth. When you have a clear sense of purpose, it becomes easier to navigate moments of loneliness because you're not aimlessly drifting. You're focused on something that matters to you. One powerful way to stay connected to your purpose is by setting long-term goals and breaking them down into actionable steps. Ask yourself, what do I want to achieve and why does it matter to me? When you have a clear why, it creates intrinsic motivation, the kind of drive that keeps you going, even during challenging times. Whether it's learning a new skill, improving your health, or working on a personal project, having something to strive for keeps your mind engaged and gives each day a sense of meaning. Another way to stay connected to your purpose is by regularly reflecting on your progress. Take time to acknowledge how far you've come, even if you haven't reached your ultimate goal yet. Reflection not only reinforces your connection to your purpose, but also helps you stay focused and motivated. You can do this by journaling, meditating, or simply taking a few moments each day to think about what you've accomplished and what's next. It's also important to recognize that purpose evolves over time. What drives you today might not be the same thing that drives you a year from now, and that's okay. The key is to stay open to change and regularly reassess what truly matters to you. Staying connected to your purpose isn't about rigidly clinging to a single goal. It's about continually seeking what brings you meaning and fulfillment. Purpose not only helps combat loneliness, but also builds resilience. When you're deeply connected to something meaningful, you become more capable of handling life's ups and downs. You're less likely to feel overwhelmed by temporary setbacks or periods of solitude, because you have a bigger picture in mind. The Stoics understood the importance of purpose in living a fulfilling life. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "People who love what they do wear themselves down doing it. They even forget to wash or eat." This doesn't mean neglecting self-care. It highlights how a sense of purpose can consume us in a positive way, making loneliness a non-issue because we're so engaged in meaningful work. Here's something practical you can try. Write down one purpose or goal that excites you. Then, list 3 small actions you can take this week to move closer to that goal. By focusing on purposeful actions, you give your mind something positive to engage with, reducing feelings of loneliness. Ask yourself, am I connected to something that gives my life meaning? If the answer is no, start exploring what excites you, what makes you feel fulfilled, and what kind of impact you want to have on yourself or the world around you. Staying connected to your purpose turns time spent alone into time spent building something valuable. Remember, purpose isn't just about what you achieve, it's about what drives you. When you stay connected to it, you fill the emotional gaps that loneliness creates, making your life richer, more meaningful, and ultimately more fulfilling. Lesson 4. Practice gratitude for what you have. When you feel lonely, your mind naturally focuses on what's missing, whether it's companionship, excitement, or support. This focus on absence can magnify feelings of isolation and make loneliness feel overwhelming. But what if, instead of focusing on what's missing, you shifted your attention to what's already present in your life? That's where gratitude comes in. Practicing gratitude helps you reframe your perspective, turning feelings of lack into feelings of abundance. Gratitude doesn't mean ignoring the challenges you're facing. It means choosing to acknowledge the positive aspects of your life, no matter how small. Research has shown that regularly practicing gratitude improves mental well-being, reduces stress, and increases overall life satisfaction. When you focus on what you have rather than what you lack, you create a sense of fullness that can help ease the sting of loneliness. Start by making a simple habit out of gratitude. Each day, take a few moments to reflect on 3 things you're grateful for. They don't have to be big. Small moments like enjoying a warm cup of coffee, having a comfortable place to live, or hearing a kind word from someone can be just as meaningful. Over time, this practice rewires your brain to notice and appreciate positive moments more often, making it easier to maintain a positive outlook even when you're alone. Another way to practice gratitude is by expressing it to others. When you feel grateful for someone's presence in your life, let them know. It can be as simple as sending a text or writing a note. Not only does this strengthen your connection with others, but it also reinforces your focus on the positive relationships you already have, rather than dwelling on the ones you may be missing. Gratitude also helps combat negative self-talk, which often surfaces during lonely moments. Instead of thinking, "I have no one," gratitude shifts your focus to thoughts like, "I'm grateful for the people who have been there for me in the past, and I'm open to building new connections." This shift doesn't magically erase loneliness, but it helps you approach it with a healthier mindset. The Stoics were strong advocates of gratitude as a tool for living a balanced life. Seneca advised, "Nothing is more honorable than a grateful heart." In their view, gratitude wasn't just about feeling good. It was about maintaining perspective, recognizing what you have, and finding peace in the present moment. Here's something practical you can try. At the end of each day, write down 3 things you're grateful for, no matter how small. Then, take a moment to reflect on how those things made your day better. Over time, you'll find that this simple practice can significantly shift your mindset, making loneliness feel less overwhelming and life feel more fulfilling. Ask yourself, am I focusing more on what's missing or on what I already have? If it's the former, start practicing gratitude today. The more you focus on what's present, the less power loneliness has over you. Remember, gratitude doesn't eliminate loneliness, but it changes the way you experience it. Instead of feeling trapped by what's missing, you become more aware of the abundance already around you. And in that shift, you'll find moments of joy, connection, and peace, even when you're alone. Lesson 5. Learn to enjoy your own company. Loneliness often feels uncomfortable because we associate being alone with being incomplete. Many people rely on external distractions, friends, social media, or constant noise to avoid facing their own thoughts. But when you learn to enjoy your own company, solitude transforms from something you want to escape into something you cherish. It becomes a time for self-reflection, growth, and inner peace. The ability to enjoy being alone starts with changing your mindset about solitude. Instead of viewing it as a punishment or a sign that something is missing, begin to see it as an opportunity to reconnect with yourself. Solitude gives you the space to listen to your own thoughts, understand your emotions, and explore what truly matters to you. One way to start enjoying your own company is by engaging in mindful activities. Choose activities that allow you to be present with yourself, whether it's taking a walk, reading a book, journaling, or simply sitting in silence. These moments help you develop a deeper connection with yourself, which in turn makes being alone feel less intimidating and more enriching. Another key aspect is self-acceptance. Many people struggle with being alone because they fear confronting their insecurities or past mistakes. But solitude isn't about judgment. It's about creating a space where you can be yourself without the need to impress or please anyone else. Embrace your flaws and strengths equally and use your alone time to reflect on how you can grow without pressuring yourself to be perfect. It's also helpful to cultivate solo rituals, activities that you look forward to doing alone. This could be something as simple as brewing your favorite cup of tea in the morning, having a solo movie night, or trying a new recipe. These rituals create positive associations with alone time and help you build a routine that feels enjoyable rather than lonely. When you learn to enjoy your own company, you stop relying on others to fill emotional gaps. This doesn't mean you no longer need connection. It means you no longer fear being alone. You become more self-sufficient, more confident, and more at peace with yourself. The Stoics believed that true happiness comes from within. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Nowhere can man find a quieter or more untroubled retreat than in his own soul." This teaches us that solitude, when embraced, becomes a source of strength rather than discomfort. Here's a simple exercise. Set aside 15 to 20 minutes each day to spend alone, without distractions. Use this time to do something you enjoy, or to simply sit quietly and reflect. Pay attention to how it feels. At first it might be uncomfortable, but over time you'll start to appreciate these moments as a time to recharge and reconnect with yourself. Ask yourself, do I enjoy being alone, or do I avoid it because it feels uncomfortable? If the latter is true, start small. Gradually build the habit of spending intentional time alone and treat it as an opportunity to learn more about yourself. Remember, learning to enjoy your own company is a journey. It's not about isolating yourself. It's about becoming your own best companion. When you reach a point where you can sit comfortably with yourself, without distractions or discomfort, you'll find that loneliness loses its grip. You'll feel more complete, more grounded, and more in tune with who you are. And that's one of the greatest gifts you can give yourself. Lesson 6. Limit comparison to others. In today's hyper-connected world, it's easier than ever to compare your life to others. Social media is filled with carefully curated highlights, vacations, promotions, relationships that create the illusion that everyone else is living a better, more fulfilling life. The problem with constant comparison is that it can amplify feelings of loneliness and inadequacy, making you believe that something is missing in your own life. When you compare yourself to others, you're often comparing their best moments to your ordinary ones. This creates a distorted perception of reality. You start to feel isolated, thinking, "Why doesn't my life look like that?" But here's the truth. Everyone faces struggles, doubts, and moments of loneliness. Most people just don't broadcast them. Limiting comparison allows you to shift your focus back to what truly matters, your own journey. The first step to breaking free from the cycle of comparison is awareness. Pay attention to when and where you tend to compare yourself to others. Is it while scrolling through social media? Is it when you hear about someone's success? Once you identify these triggers, you can take intentional steps to reduce their impact. For example, consider limiting your time on social media or unfollowing accounts that make you feel inadequate. Another way to limit comparison is by practicing self-appreciation. Instead of measuring your worth against others, focus on your own progress. Ask yourself, what have I accomplished that I'm proud of? And how have I grown over the past year? By shifting your attention to your own journey, you start to see that your life is valuable and meaningful, even if it doesn't look like someone else's. It's also important to remind yourself that everyone's path is different. Just because someone else is succeeding in one area doesn't mean you're failing. Life isn't a race. It's a personal journey, and comparing your progress to others only distracts you from what truly matters, your own growth and happiness. The Stoics taught that external comparisons are pointless because what truly matters is how you're living according to your own values. Epictetus said, "Wealth consists not in having great possessions, but in having few wants." This philosophy reminds us that fulfillment doesn't come from having what others have. It comes from appreciating what we already have and focusing on our own path. Here's something practical you can do. The next time you catch yourself comparing your life to someone else's, pause and ask, "What's one thing I'm grateful for in my own life right now?" This simple shift in focus helps you break the cycle of comparison and brings your attention back to the present. Ask yourself, am I living my life for me, or am I trying to keep up with others? If you realize you've been caught in the trap of comparison, remember that no one's journey is the same. Your worth isn't determined by how your life looks compared to someone else's. It's determined by how true you are to yourself. By limiting comparison, you free yourself from unnecessary feelings of isolation and inadequacy. You learn to appreciate your own path, find joy in your own progress, and focus on living a life that feels fulfilling to you, not one that looks impressive to others. And in that shift, you'll discover a deeper sense of connection to yourself and a greater ability to embrace solitude without loneliness. Lesson 7. Create, don't just consume. One of the most common reactions to loneliness is turning to passive consumption, whether it's binge-watching TV shows, endlessly scrolling through social media, or mindlessly snacking. While these activities may temporarily distract you from feelings of isolation, they don't actually fill the emotional void. Instead, they often leave you feeling even more disconnected and unfulfilled. The solution: start creating instead of just consuming. Creation engages your mind and gives you a sense of purpose. Whether it's writing, drawing, cooking, building something, or even learning a new skill, creating puts you in the driver's seat. You're no longer passively absorbing what others have made. You're actively shaping something new, something that reflects who you are. This act of creation helps you feel more present, more connected to yourself, and less consumed by loneliness. When you create, you enter what's known as a state of flow, a mental state where you're fully immersed in the task at hand, and time seems to disappear. This flow state is incredibly fulfilling because it gives your mind something meaningful to focus on. Instead of dwelling on feelings of loneliness, you're channeling your energy into something productive and rewarding. Creation doesn't have to be perfect to be meaningful. The point isn't to produce something flawless. It's to express yourself, explore your interests, and enjoy the process. Maybe you've always wanted to start journaling, try your hand at painting, or learn how to play a musical instrument. Whatever it is, focus on the joy of creating, not the end result. The act of doing is what brings fulfillment. Another benefit of creating is that it helps build self-confidence. Each time you create something, no matter how small, you're proving to yourself that you can take action and produce something of value. This reinforces your sense of self-worth and helps counteract feelings of emptiness or inadequacy. The Stoics believed in the importance of action and contribution. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Waste no more time arguing about what a good man should be one." In other words, don't just sit and think about what you could be doing, start doing. Creation is an active form of engagement with life, and it gives you a sense of agency, even when you're alone. Here's something practical you can try. Pick one activity you've always wanted to try, or something you used to enjoy but haven't done in a while. Set aside 30 minutes this week to focus solely on that activity. Whether it's writing a short story, sketching something simple, or baking a new recipe, the goal is to immerse yourself in the process of creating without judgment. Ask yourself, am I spending more time passively consuming or actively creating? If the answer is consumption, challenge yourself to shift the balance. Even small acts of creation can make a big difference in how connected and fulfilled you feel. Remember, creation isn't just about making things, it's about making meaning. When you shift from passive consumption to active creation, you fill the emotional gaps that loneliness leaves behind. You become engaged, energized, and empowered by the process, turning moments of solitude into moments of inspiration. Lesson 8. Stay physically active. It's no secret that physical activity has a powerful impact on your mental and emotional well-being. When you're feeling lonely, your energy levels can dip, and it's easy to fall into a cycle of inactivity, which only deepens those feelings of isolation. Staying physically active isn't just about staying fit. It's about elevating your mood, boosting your confidence, and breaking free from the negative thoughts that loneliness often brings. When you exercise, your brain releases endorphins, often called the feel-good hormones. These chemicals help reduce stress, anxiety, and feelings of sadness, replacing them with a sense of well-being and calm. Even a short walk outside or a quick home workout can shift your mood and help you feel more present. Physical activity gets you out of your head and into your body, grounding you in the moment. Staying active also helps create structure in your day, which is crucial when you're feeling lonely. Loneliness often comes with a sense of aimlessness. Time feels slower, and it's harder to stay motivated. By setting a routine that includes regular physical activity, whether it's a morning jog, an afternoon yoga session, or an evening stretch, you introduce a healthy rhythm to your day. This rhythm not only keeps you engaged, but also gives you something to look forward to. Another benefit of staying physically active is that it builds self-discipline. When you commit to showing up for yourself, whether it's for a workout or simply a walk around the block, you reinforce the idea that you're worth the effort. Each small action adds up, strengthening both your physical health and your self-respect. If possible, try to combine physical activity with spending time in nature. Studies have shown that being outdoors can significantly reduce feelings of loneliness and improve overall well-being. Whether it's a hike, a stroll through a park, or simply sitting outside, nature has a calming effect that helps you feel more connected to the world around you. Here's something practical you can do. Set a simple, achievable goal for physical activity this week. It doesn't have to be complicated. Start with 10 to 15 minutes a day of something you enjoy, like walking, stretching, or dancing. The key is consistency, not intensity. Over time, this habit will become a source of strength and comfort. Ask yourself, am I giving my body the movement it needs to feel good? If not, start small. Physical activity doesn't have to be a chore. It can be a fun, fulfilling part of your day that helps you reconnect with yourself. Remember, staying physically active isn't just about physical health. It's about nurturing your mind and spirit too. When you move your body, you move your energy. You break free from the heaviness of loneliness, lift your mood, and remind yourself that you have the power to create positive change in your life, one step at a time. Lesson 9. Contribute to something bigger than yourself. One of the most effective ways to overcome loneliness is by shifting your focus outward, toward helping others and contributing to something larger than yourself. Loneliness often arises when we feel disconnected, not just from people, but from meaning and purpose. By contributing to a cause, a community, or even just one person's well-being, you create a sense of connection that goes beyond yourself. When you contribute to something bigger, whether it's through volunteering, supporting a cause, or helping a friend, you're reminded that you're part of a greater whole. This feeling of connection helps reduce loneliness because it gives you a sense of belonging. You're no longer isolated in your thoughts. You're actively participating in the world around you. Contribution doesn't have to be grand or time-consuming. Even small acts of kindness, like checking in on a friend, helping a neighbor, or offering encouragement to someone who's struggling, can make a big difference. These moments remind you that your presence matters, and they create positive ripples in both your life and the lives of others. Another benefit of contributing to something bigger is that it shifts your perspective. When you're focused solely on your own feelings of loneliness, it's easy to feel stuck. But when you step outside yourself and help others, you gain a broader view of life. You realize that everyone faces challenges and that by supporting each other, we create a shared sense of connection. The Stoics believed in the importance of serving the common good. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "What brings no benefit to the hive brings no benefit to the bee." This philosophy reminds us that personal fulfillment is deeply tied to our ability to contribute to the well-being of those around us. When you give to others, you also give to yourself, a sense of purpose, connection, and meaning. Here's something practical you can do. Look for one small way you can contribute this week. It could be volunteering for a local organization, helping a colleague with a task, or simply listening to someone who needs support. The act doesn't have to be big. It just needs to come from a place of genuine care. Ask yourself, am I focusing only on my own loneliness, or am I finding ways to connect through contribution? If you've been stuck in your own head, try shifting outward. Even small acts of kindness can create a powerful sense of connection and help you feel less alone. Remember, contributing to something bigger than yourself isn't just about helping others. It's about finding connection, purpose, and meaning in your life. When you give, you receive something far greater in return, a sense of belonging, a renewed perspective, and a deeper understanding that loneliness is only temporary. Lesson 10. Remind yourself that being alone is temporary. In moments of deep loneliness, it's easy to feel like the emptiness will last forever. The mind tends to exaggerate difficult emotions, convincing you that this feeling of isolation is permanent. But here's the truth. Being alone is a temporary phase, not a permanent state. Like all emotions, loneliness comes and goes. It's part of the human experience. When you remind yourself that loneliness is temporary, you reduce its intensity. Instead of getting caught up in the belief that this is how life will always be, you shift your perspective to something more realistic. This is how I feel right now, but it won't last forever. This simple shift can make a huge difference in how you experience solitude. One helpful strategy is to reframe loneliness as a season of growth. Think of times in your past when you felt lonely. Didn't those phases eventually pass? And often, didn't they lead to personal growth or new beginnings? When you view loneliness as a temporary challenge rather than a permanent state, you give yourself hope and resilience to navigate it. It's also important to remember that everyone feels lonely at times. Even people who seem to have a vibrant social life experience moments of isolation. Loneliness isn't a reflection of your worth. It's a natural part of being human. Understanding this helps reduce the stigma around loneliness and reminds you that you're not alone in feeling this way. Another way to cope with loneliness is by taking small, positive actions to improve your situation. Call a friend, join a group, or explore a new hobby. These actions remind you that connection is always possible, even if it takes effort. You don't have to eliminate loneliness entirely. You just need to create moments that make it feel less overwhelming. The Stoics believed in accepting the present moment while trusting in the impermanence of life's difficulties. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "This too shall pass." He reminded us that everything in life, both good and bad, is temporary. Loneliness, like any emotion, will eventually fade, especially if you take steps to move forward and reconnect with the world around you. Here's something practical you can do. The next time you feel lonely, pause and remind yourself, this is temporary, and I have the power to create positive change. Then, take one small action, whether it's reaching out to someone, going for a walk, or engaging in an activity you enjoy. These little actions create momentum and remind you that you're in control of how you experience solitude. Ask yourself, am I believing that loneliness is forever, or am I accepting it as temporary? If you've been caught in the trap of thinking it's permanent, practice reminding yourself of its impermanence. Over time, you'll start to see that moments of loneliness come and go, but they don't define you. Remember, being alone isn't a permanent state. It's a passing experience. When you learn to accept it without letting it overwhelm you, loneliness loses its grip. You realize that life is full of seasons, and this too shall pass. With patience, perspective, and small positive steps, You'll find that connection, joy, and fulfillment are always within reach. Loneliness is something we all experience at different points in life, but it doesn't have to define who you are or how you live. Throughout this episode, we explored 10 powerful strategies to help you navigate those moments of isolation, find fulfillment from within, and transform loneliness into an opportunity for growth and self-connection. From developing a strong relationship with yourself, engaging in fulfilling activities, and staying connected to your purpose, to limiting comparisons, creating instead of just consuming, and contributing to something bigger than yourself. Each of these steps empowers you to take control of your experience. Remember, loneliness is temporary, and by adopting these strategies, you can learn to embrace solitude without feeling alone. Self-respect and inner peace come from understanding that you don't need constant external validation to feel whole. When you cultivate joy from within and find purpose in your actions, you build a life where being alone isn't something to fear. It becomes a chance to recharge, reflect, and grow stronger. As Marcus Aurelius reminds us, you have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. You can't always control life's circumstances, but you can control how you respond to them. By shifting your perspective on loneliness and adopting these practical habits, you create a mindset that allows you to thrive even in solitude. Ask yourself, what's one step I can take today to transform loneliness into an opportunity for growth? It might be something small, journaling for a few minutes, practicing gratitude, or simply enjoying a quiet moment alone. Each small step brings you closer to building a life of inner fulfillment. Thank you for listening. If you found this episode helpful, please consider liking, sharing, and subscribing for more content on personal growth and emotional well-being. And as always, I'd love to hear your thoughts. What strategy resonated with you the most? Let's continue the conversation in the comments. Until next time, remember, you're never truly alone when you're connected to yourself. Stay strong, stay purposeful, and keep growing.